Charles, thank you very much for joining us. Kicking off with a simple question. What is the Liberal Party's stance on Brexit?
Right, the Liberal Party's stance on Brexit is to respect the result of the referendum and to leave the EU, preferably with a deal. They all say that, but truthfully, it's codology, the bit about the deal. The reality is you've got to have some sort of working arrangement, and to leave, see how it works out over the next decade or so, and then take stock.
And obviously that's a different stance from your previous party, the Liberal Democrats. Is that the sole reason why you left the Liberal Democrats on the policy on Brexit?
No, the reason overall, I've been a very loyal member of the Liberal Democrats. In fact, I've worked to achieve some quite grateful successes in local terms for them, and I've worked with previous MPs, right? The reason for leaving is that the direction has changed. Ever since the Linc period, it has changed in its style, and particularly in terms of being a broad church, whereby there's space for Remainers, Leavers, other viewpoints across a broad range of issues, where people want to be able to stand up for what they think is right. It's become much more about, this is the party policy, you go with that. So they've lost a lot of hard-working activists, right, who were able to have their voice. And what you've got now, you've got lots of new people who've joined, well-intentioned, but clearly they've just joined for the Remain camp.
And obviously at the last election in Lincoln there wasn't a Liberal candidate, but the two parties, Conservative and Labour, did dominate. Are you confident that you can overturn that in this election?
I think in terms of overturning that in Lincoln, it might be a tall shot, yeah? But the reality is that what voters in Lincoln need to know is that absolutely there will be continuing Liberal Party candidates again now, and that also what they need to understand is that their vote counts, that the policies that we're concerned about and the important issues of freedom and being able to speak out will be represented by a higher Liberal vote across the country, in the constituencies that we do have candidates, and has a big impact on our ability to do things further on, and how we're treated by the media and everything else. So it's really important.
And obviously Brexit is going to be a major issue in this election. Is there a danger that it could end up being the only issue talked about in the campaign, do you think?
Every party is saying, no, it's not just about Brexit, it's about all the other issues. But they're sort of pinning themselves a bit on Brexit, yeah? But the reality is not. There's lots of other issues. As you know, there's issues like fracking, which we're opposed to. There's issue about how you treat the defence services. We believe in supporting people more on the ground, more ground troops than the nuclear option, yeah? There's massive issues around benefits and social welfare, right? And plenty of others to have a good go at. But what everyone will be saying is about the environment. But what I would say, standing back, is it's up to you as well about the environment individually. Massively, government policy has to do things. But unless we're prepared to take it on board as people and as citizens, we're just going to get a worse and worse situation.
And there's also been talk that this election needs to be a respectful campaign. Is that something you'll be conscious of?
This is where I say codswallop, isn't it? Something like that, or whatever. But in reality, we know that the issue about a respectful election, and this has been said before, has recently been driven by antics in Parliament, places, what people hear other people saying about each other. And I don't think you can clamp people, yeah? However, there have been lots of people saying unnecessary things. For example, Joe Swinson said that the other party leaders are not fit to be Prime Minister and stuff like that. I think it goes too far. And I also think we've had Alistair Campbell saying that, and other people recently, only today, calling people liars and stuff like that. No, that is not the thing to do. But I think ordinary words like, I think that's bonkers, or so-and-so's up a tree, yeah, I think are quite acceptable.
And if you were elected as Lincoln's MP, then what would your priorities for students be?
Right. Well, the Liberal Party's priority to dispose of things like the student grants and fees issue is to move to a more localised basis of student grants where the system is different, and completely abolish the fees as far as state institutions are combined. You can get trapped into public and private institutions. The answer is, if the state institutions, let's have free tuition fees. Let's get rid of the whole is it, isn't it? The problem is all parties can configure things to be managed a different way, so they create costs elsewhere. As far as universities, because when we talk students, we're talking further education as well as universities. And what we should be looking at here is making it. It's never going to be a perfect level playing field, but I think things have got to be better, because we've still got strands of one place thinking it's so much better than another. And once you have specialisms in great skills areas like medicine or whatever, let's get it real. A 3-year course, say, in English literature is a 3-year course in English literature, and yes, there may be differences in readings, but let's stop all the different qualities and prejudices. We probably won't, because academics are like that, so it's all academics' fault, shall we say. But there are certainly, and also universities need to admit, in the massive growth of universities, and I'm a polytechnic system product, right? Yeah, as was, right? Is that it's lots of things are about bums on seats, and instead of assuming that we're here and we judge people and we give them degrees, maybe the community wants to decide what they do.
And also, what would your priorities be for the wider city and constituency of Lincoln?
Right. For Lincoln, first thing I'm going to say, there's a lot of issues anyway. But secondly, Lincoln's changing enormously. Demographically, Lincoln is changing enormously, right? So what Lincoln has to do is embrace the different components of people that make up Lincoln. We need to constantly work on community cohesion. And by community cohesion, I don't mean telling everybody to do the same. I mean, how can we all work together happily and do things well? We need passionately to work on the transport infrastructure. And for students, to take students as well, and everybody else as well. We all know that there are certain bus services down to the south of Lincoln which are sort of okay, yeah, but might be better. But if you work on the west, you can forget it after 6 o'clock. We absolutely need to work on the public transport 100%, and we need to stop as a county, and it's a habit we've had as a county, of dissing public transport. There's another word they might say is not proper. We need to stop doing that and recognise that being Car County is not necessarily always helping us. And particularly, again, if we talk on the environment issue, there's a lot we need to wake up to in Lincolnshire. For the city itself, we passionately need Lincoln to be a City of Lincoln unitary authority, probably encompassing a bit near it, around, but essentially, Lincoln is now a major city in the East Midlands, emotionally, structurally, lots of other ways. It competes with the other cities in the East Midlands and elsewhere. Let's get the issue of the unitary authority as the City of Lincoln solved.
Finally, on a few quick-fire questions. The Liberal Party wants to, it favours a less rigid approach to post-16 education to allow for a time-out. What would that sort of look like for post-16 students?
Right, well, that's something the Liberal Party's thrown up. I mean, time-out is clearly allowing people into education, gap years, of their own choosing or whatever, and more freedom in how people do their study at that time. I had an amusing situation, so I'll relate that to that. Was when I was a 16-year-old, long time ago, guys, right, I said, I want to study myself. And years ago, before we had the OU, we had ordinary correspondence colleges and this, and I went to the DSS, or DHSS then, and said, I'm a student. Well, where are you studying? And I said, I'm studying with me. And well, we're not sure that fits the rules, yeah? No, I'm studying with, I think it was Metropolitan College or something then, by post. And I did it, and I put my head down, and I used it to get into the next bit in the next phase of further education, which was a college, and it was Manchester, as it is now, and so on. But I think it's that flexibility to not try and pigeonhole people. And the other thing about that further education thing is it's always all about their progression statistics and where you've placed people. These have gone into this, these have gone into this, but fine, yeah. But really, it's about what did they get out of that education.
And also, what is your favourite thing to do to relax when you're out and about in Lincoln?
Out and about in Lincoln? Whoa. Out and about in Lincoln. Well, I used to come into the student bar down there sometimes because the meals were okay, you know, and the stuff, and relax. You know, if it's in Lincoln, it's obviously usually have a drink with friends and what have you. If you said something wider, it would be football. I'm a massive Lincoln City supporter, but by family history, I'm also a Preston North End supporter. So whenever they get together, I'm off to the football ground.
And finally, talking about the need for a respectful campaign, could you tell us something you admire, perhaps, about one of your local opponents in this election?
Yeah. The thing is, to be fair, it's probably not a completely straight answer, but I admire different things in different ones of them. You know, Carl McCartney has stuck to his guns when he's been portrayed as the monster of the election, yeah, at times in the past, when in fact it's just his way. You know, he's not completely lovey-dovey, I don't think, in public. You know, he's not completely there with you, and sometimes he may not always be completely respectful. Karen Lee, what you have to say with Karen is absolutely, if you think of the Labour Party's selection procedure, and this is a thing worth criticising the Lib Dems for, when things are getting good somewhere and they think someone might win, they love to whisk somebody into the constituency that they want to get elected, to the complete ignoring of local people, local candidates, councillors who worked hard. It took Karen 2 or 3 times to get up to this election as the local person, and thank God they had the sense to pick a local person, not head office party draft someone in. And that's fantastically important for all the parties. And in fact, the election procedure really needs to change in that area, rather than the convenience of selecting whoever the party wants. Because our problem now is actually party policy. Not that there shouldn't be parties, but it's about the party and the person. Look at who you're voting for as a person, and look at the party as well. Don't just, say, oh yeah, I just think such a thing. So that's really important. So from that localised point of view, and what Karen said to do, you've got to respect that, right? And from the Lib Dems point of view, their candidate has worked it up, working in a party where it's pretty hard to work at times, and the Independent, I've only met the Independent guy once, but he has his own thing he wants to do, and he's had the guts to put his money where his mouth is.
And the Green Party candidate?
God, I forgot the Green Party candidate. I went finally mentally stupid. Hi, folks. Right. I've talked to the Green Party candidates, and I think one of the problems for the Green Party locally, as nationally, is coming back to Brexit. Not all their members locally agree with the Remain campaign, because at one time they, like other parties, were campaigning to leave, yeah, and now they're on a different track, so that's difficult for them. Yes, nice person, and has stuck to it for 2 or 3 elections with things, yeah.
Being as we're including all of them, there's also a Brexit Party candidate.
It's all right, no problem with that. Well, of course, the Brexit Party candidate should have stood down in favour of the Liberal candidate. I was vote leave coordinator for Lincoln's Leave for the North Icombe. We ran the campaign successfully. I can see the reasons why Brexit wants to stand. They have done this thing in relation to the Conservative candidates. I can't say this isn't a constituency in which they might win, because they could, yeah. But I think it's possibly between Labour and the rest of us to get whatever vote. But you can, of course, all change your vote and vote for me. Yeah, but it's absolutely the thing about the Brexit Party is can I tell you, I think he's probably fine, but I don't know him personally that well. And I will be meeting him tonight at a public forum again, so we'll see.